Hello and welcome, Pilates instructors. Let me ask you, have you ever thought this in your mind? I wish my students would just understand how to breathe correctly. Now, if you've ever thought that in your teaching brain, then you are in the right spot for today's video. So first of all, let me say welcome. I am Ginny Massie, Balanced Body Master Instructor, and I'm so excited to have you here to listen in on this topic today. So I have heard across the board from Pilates instructors about breath, whether to cue breathing or to not cue breathing, how to cue breathing, why to cue breathing, and so much information about breathing. Now, I have my own opinions about breathing and teaching breath, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you today, but also kind of broaden the spectrum a bit so that way you have a bigger idea on when to cue breath, why to cue breath, and maybe if it's important to not cue breath, even if that's a really big part of your teaching practice. Okay, so first of all, we have hopefully we have all learned and heard to exhale on the effort and inhale for the length. So these are ways that in general we think about cueing breath in the Pilates repertoire, and we use the exhale to emphasize the effort of an exercise. And then we use the inhale to facilitate the length or the return phase of an exercise, either or. And in the Pilates world, we tend to cue the Pilates breath, which is your posterior lateral breath. So breathing into the sides and the back of the body for breath. And all of this has very valid reasoning to cue for our clients. Now, going back to the first question at the opening of this video, if you've ever thought, I just want my clients to understand how to breathe correctly, I would encourage you to then ask yourself the next follow-up question, which should be, why is this important right now? And if you don't have an answer, then it's not worthwhile to pursue teaching your clients how to understand breath in their body at that moment. So let me explain. If you're working with a client, so let's say one-on-one with a client, and they are getting the inhale mixed up with the exhale, and maybe they're stopping or getting frustrated in their body because they are focusing so much on breath, because you've made a point to emphasize the breath, or they have taken it upon themselves to use breath as the first part or first initiation of the movement. And when clients do this and they get frustrated or get confused by the breath, what happens is then they do get confused, they get flustered. It actually starts to increase tension in their body, and it sometimes makes them stop doing their movement or do tensious movement in place of smooth, harmonious movement. Okay, so if you are noticing these things in your client or in your class, it's easier to control in a one-on-one or a duo situation. If you are noticing these things in your client, that would be a situation to step away from breath, to stop cueing breath so specifically that your client intertwines it so harshly with the movement. And when they don't understand the breath, it actually causes more tension. We don't want those situations for our client. What do we want as Pilates instructors? We want our clients to feel freedom in their body, correct? We want them to feel flow. We want them to feel a sense of elevation and hydration in their body, a sense of joy in their body. And if they are getting caught up in the breath cycle and getting frustrated, that is the opposite of what we are trying to give our clients. So it would be in this instance that I would encourage you to back off of cueing breath and actually minimize it or stop cueing breath altogether. Meaning you would cue the movement sequence, but not when to inhale and not when to exhale. And if your client knows that you're used to cueing breath and they pause and say, wait, now when do I inhale? That's your chance to step back and say, you know what? I just want you to feel the movement. Go ahead and breathe in and out as you need to, and just move the way that I cue. And so that will then give them permission to breathe normally, to breathe more relaxed in their body, and they're going to get even more benefit out of their movement because they're not so hung up on, is this when I exhale? Is that when I exhale? Inhale and exhale. And they're going to shave off that layer of tension and stress associated with breath. Now, does that mean that you're never going to cue them breath work? No. It just means for that day or that moment or for a short period of time, you're going to step back and allow your client the space that they need to process the movement, to understand what they're doing in their body, and then add in the element of breath later when things are more familiar. So that is an instance for not cueing breath and how you can go about that situation and managing that with your client. Now, where are instances where we do need to cue breath? Well, for our intermediate and advanced level clients, they can definitely handle the breath work because they should be proficient in their body work at that point in time. Also for clients who tend to be breath holders, who hold their breath, you don't want to over cue breath because then they'll maybe hyperventilate on that, okay? These tend to be anxious clients or clients who, when they are thinking, hold their breath through thinking processes. So we want to encourage breath, but maybe you'll cue when to inhale and exhale, and maybe you will just cue to breathe in general, right? So those are a few instances where you want to definitely cue breath. Now, clients who have asthma or other lung issues, definitely cue breath, but give more time and more space for your client to create longer breath cycles. So clients who need to work on their lung capacity for any particular reason, post-COVID, asthma or any other lung issue specifically, you don't want to be cueing faster repetitions because that's going to encourage them to inhale and exhale at a more rapid pace, and they may not be getting that full breath cycle into their lungs. So you can either cue a longer cycle of repetitions, or you can cue your clients to inhale and exhale continuously to their fullest breath, and it may not match their movement cycle. Now, this might be like a big red X for some of you because to breathe in and out in conjunction with specific movements actually feels really good. However, with certain clients, it can be very liberating for them to take one long breath in, and maybe at that point, if they're doing footwork on the reformer, they've gone in and out 3 times, meaning out, in, out, how about that, with one long inhale, and then they're gonna exhale for as many in and outs as they need. Okay, so fluid breath for specific clients is also more beneficial than cueing to breathe in to go out and exhale to come in, or vice versa, okay? So I want you to start thinking about breath for your clients, and to, as a teacher, maybe step away and disengage from what you feel is proper and correct breathing, all right? Take a look at your client. Notice what they may or may not need for breath, and then cue breath according to what that client in front of you really truly needs in their body, but also needs for their brain. All right? In that respect, when you can cue your client in front of you according to the breath that they need, then you're no longer going to be asking yourself, how can I get my clients to understand how to breathe correctly? Because guess what? There's no right or wrong way to breathe, okay? As living creatures on this earth, if we're breathing, we're alive. There's always a way to enhance our breathing cycles to make things a little more efficient or a little bit more connected in our brain and body. However, there is no wrong way to breathe. So I encourage you to step back, think, reevaluate why you are thinking about getting your clients to understand how to breathe correctly. And remember that your clients are just another human being, just like you. And we are all on this earth to learn a little bit more each day, to do a little bit better for ourselves. And so encouraging your clients to breathe in the way that is most beneficial for them is teaching them how to breathe correctly. If you enjoyed this video, be sure and hit that like and subscribe button. And if you'd like to learn even more ways to level up your cueing, programming, and client connection skills, check out my online program for Pilates instructors, Class Design Superstar, with the link below. See you next time.